Welcome to Coaching Ourselves. I'm Henry Mintzberg. I'm one of the founding co-partners of Coaching Ourselves with Phil Lanier and Sasha Sadalova and Jonathan Gosling. And I'm particularly proud today to be sharing what we're doing in Coaching Ourselves with you. We think it's very important, and we think it's the perfect the perfect form of development for our times. Some of you may know that for about 15 years, McGill, in partnership with other schools around the world, has been developing a whole family of very innovative programs. But the concern was always, how do we bring this to a much broader audience? And then Phil came up with the concept of Coaching Ourselves. And to me, this is the culmination of everything I've dreamed of for many years. And the simple way of doing it is to bring all these ideas and concepts of self-learning and group-developed learning and reflecting on experience within groups right down to the workplace where it belongs. There's nothing wrong with public programs, and I will very proudly tell you about all our public programs, but there's something particularly powerful about bringing all this into the workplace. In a sense, Coaching Ourselves is at the interface of the most modern forms of technology in terms of using the web and using the internet, but it's also the necessary component of human interaction. That web alone misses something very important. And so Coaching Ourselves uses that electronic transfer to bring important topics down to people in the workplace, where managers work together, bond together, and start understanding management much more deeply and also driving change in their own organizations. The idea is that we bring their ideas and their concepts in their words and their view to these groups. So this is not standard sort of, generic management material on. I think that Coaching Ourselves is really the management development tool of our times for two reasons. The first is that when things are very tight, HR budgets and development and training budgets get cut, and yet people don't want to stop doing their own training, and they don't want to, and HR people in the companies don't want to stop these training activities. And so Coaching Ourselves is a very inexpensive way with very limited budget of keeping coaching and developing going. In fact, I would argue that it's the most powerful way of doing it, even though it's so inexpensive. The other reason it's for our times is because I personally think management and leadership have gone off the rails to a certain extent. I think we've disconnected a lot of management and leadership from what's going on in companies, and we need to reconnect that. I'll have an article coming out in the Harvard Business Review called Rebuilding Companies as Communities. And that was inspired by all our programs and what we learned in all our programs, but especially what we learned in Coaching Ourselves, which is that we have to rebuild the strength of companies, the strength of them as communities, and people's identifications, their bonding, and so on. Very often in companies, it's the middle managers who are the carriers of the culture and who have very strong beliefs in the company and really want to see, or other organization, and really want to see it continuing. And Coaching Ourselves is a way of bringing them in, not only to accept and acknowledge their importance in the company, but also in the realization that these can be the most significant drivers of change in a company, because they do all sorts of little changes in all kinds of significant ways, and those add up. My view of strategy is that strategies grow in an emergent fashion. They grow out of initiatives, and those initiatives often happen at middle management levels. And the way Coaching Ourselves is designed, with people doing, 75 or so minute rather informal meetings once every week or two, it becomes a basis for coming up with a lot of these initiatives and a lot of these changes. So the philosophy of Coaching Ourselves is not only developing managers, which is obviously a critical element, but really driving significant change in their organizations.